When you became a leader, nobody pulled you aside and said, "Congratulations, you're now the emotional shock absorber for everyone around you." They warned you probably about the workload, about your calendar. They probably warned you about the additional responsibility. But nobody warned you about the pressure, not the obvious pressure, like hitting the targets, the deadlines, the board meetings. I'm talking about the invisible pressure that comes with power. The kind that follows you home. The kind you feel in your chest at 3 a.m. The kind that makes everyone say, "Hey, you're doing great," while you're quietly rehearsing arguments of the opposite in the car on the way home. If you're a leader who looks fine on paper, you hit the numbers, your team likes you, but inside you're exhausted, edgy, or emotionally checked out, I want you to know you're not the problem. You're just operating inside what I call pressure power. And if you don't understand how pressure power works, it will quietly eat you alive while everyone else thinks you got this. Today, I'm going to walk you through the 3 laws of pressure power so you can stop being the shock absorber for the entire system and start leading in a way that doesn't cost you your health, your relationships, or your joy. And yes, you can still be excellent without slowly frying your nervous system. Radical concept, I know. So let's get into it. When people talk about leadership burnout, they usually give you the same 4-part sermon. Set better boundaries, manage your time, delegate more, do some self-care on the weekends. And hey, I'm all about boundaries. That's what this channel is all about. Totally true, totally useful, and totally incomplete. Because you can ignore one uncomfortable truth. Leadership creates asymmetric pressure. If you're a leader with people reporting to you, you carry responsibility that doesn't get evenly distributed, even in the healthiest, most well-intentioned meeting organizations. That's not a mindset problem. It's not a failure of resiliency either. It's literally the nature of power. Power is simply the ability to influence, affect, or shape another person's experience, whether or not you intend to. The moment your role affects someone's livelihood, their reputation, their workload, their sense of belonging, and success, including your own, you're holding power, and it's asymmetrically distributed. And when leaders don't understand how power and pressure behave, they turn themselves into pressure cookers. They don't say, "No," they say, "I'll hold it." They don't say, "This is too much." They say, "I can handle it." And that's where things start to crack. So let's get into the 3 laws of pressure power and what to do about them. Law number 1, pressure flows up the hierarchy and it stays there. Your team can offload pressure onto you, and the organization can offload pressure onto you too. But you can't just send it back down without consequences. And you already know this. You know if you dump pressure on your team, morale starts to drop, performance tanks, and suddenly you're the difficult leader. So what do leaders do? Unconsciously, they internalize it. They don't metabolize it. They absorb it through their nervous system, like Olympic level. There's no medal either, just heartburn. Over time, this creates a quiet identity shift. I'm the one who has to hold it together. I can't fall apart. I can't let this touch them. And that's not leadership strengths. That's pressure accumulation. And accumulated pressure always looks like competence right up until it turns into burnout, reactivity, or numbness. And this is where a lot of leaders get confused. They say, "But no one's telling me to do this. I think I'm putting it all on myself." Exactly. Pressure power is rarely imposed. It just is. It's internalized. And most of the pressure you're carrying isn't coming from your calendar. It's coming from the stories you're telling yourself about what a good leader does, which brings us to the 2nd law. Law number 2, pressure to fill the identity. Pressure doesn't just live in your schedule. It expands into who you think you are. If your identity is fused with being reliable, being the fixer, being the calm one, being the standard, pressure has unlimited real estate. Because now you're not just managing work, you're protecting an image. And that's where leadership stops being a role and becomes a psychological load. This is why leaders say things like, "I don't know how to shut it off. I don't know how to relax. I feel responsible even when I'm not working." That's not ambition. That's identity saturation. It's like your job moved into your brain, stopped paying rent, and brought all its loud cousins with it. This isn't about carrying less. It's about carrying differently. If you don't consciously define where pressure ends and you begin, leadership becomes totalizing. It will absorb your evenings, your weekends, your personality, all your roles, if you let it. And totalizing roles always cost more than they pay, which brings us to the 3rd and probably most dangerous law. Law number 3, unnamed pressure turns into self-destruction. When pressure isn't named, when it isn't externalized, when it isn't metabolized intentionally, it turns inward. Leaders start using pressure as motivation. I should be able to handle this. I just need to push harder. I'll rest when this next project is over. And spoiler alert, there's always another project. It's never over. So leaders drive harder, they rest less, they override signals, and they normalize depletion. And because they're still performing, no one interrupts it until the cost shows up somewhere else. Health, relationships, lack of joy, lack of creativity, lack of patience. Pressure power doesn't usually explode, it erodes quietly. So what do leaders actually need? Not more productivity hacks, I can tell you that. And not another morning routine you'll abandon in 6 days either. You need pressure literacy first and foremost. You need to know what pressure is actually yours, what pressure belongs to the role, and what pressure you're unconsciously carrying to preserve an identity. And you need structures that distribute pressure away from your nervous system and allow you to calibrate what's yours and what's not. That's what sane leadership looks like. It's why healthy boundaries are necessary and doing less, but better, truly matters, and why it works. If you're a leader who feels heavy, even when things are going well, nothing's wrong with you. You're just operating inside pressure you were never taught how to manage and how to work with. To learn more about what type of leadership is healthy and what's toxic, go to the linked video above. I'm going to show you how to map your pressure load, how to renegotiate invisible contracts, and how to lead without turning yourself into the shock absorber for the entire system. Because leadership isn't meant to crush you, it's meant to be enjoyable, and it's meant to be inhabited in a healthy way. So go check out my next video series on getting clarity. And of course, hit subscribe to get more great stuff on how to thrive in the 9 to 5 and beyond. Happy thriving!